It's episode 282 of The Platformers, a show about video games and nerd culture. And I'm your host, Brian Barnett.
And I'm the other host, Chris Cornelise, aka Delphin. Not a nobody name.
Not a nobody name, but you know who is a nobody? This guy.
Yeah, this conversation came up as a result of the whole Twitter thing, and everyone's like, put an X in your name. And Brian's like, Ribnax, I've already done it. And we're all just had our mind blown, and I had never spotted it, and I feel really bad about not spotting it. So
it is true. It is true. I did this those many years ago when I needed to start making... because my name isn't super common, like my full name isn't super common, but it is common enough that if you type my first and last name into a search engine, there is like a dentist in Michigan that comes up in front of me, even though I write and publish content at the biggest video game site in the world. Like, I'm not the most notorious Brian Barnett that there is. So a lot of times when I would go onto social media, like it would just be taken. So I had to like come up with something. And I had like a bunch of stuff like over the years. When I was in high school, I had Meta Messenger, which was like a kind of like a, like when you're communicating with people, there's the message and then there's the meta message. So the message is like the actual words that you say. The meta message is the information that you're trying to convey. So like,
right,
like innuendo, like, you know, like double entendre, like all kinds of stuff, body language, like the meta, you can be saying something really nice, but if you're from the South, they might actually be insulting you. So I was like, have always been very good at like picking up on what other people mean instead of just what they say. So I was like, Meta Messenger. That's like kind of a cool little thing. So I went by that for a while. I also went by like, you know, the quick red fox, like the quick red fox jumps over the lazy brown dog, like that sort of a thing, like just like wordplay stuff. And then I got really into Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2. And I was like, I'm going to Organization 13 my name. And I've been using it ever since.
That makes sense.
It's been a long time. It's been a very long time. But now, since everybody was just like, X, it's X. Everybody do the Organization 13 thing. And I'm like, bro, I've been there.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Yeah, meanwhile, Cam is over there with like, you know, his tag is Cam Final Mix, which is a great name. It's a great name because the Final Mix, you know, versions of the games, of the Kingdom Hearts games, like add a bunch of extra stuff in, or the stuff that was Japanese exclusive, which is like, it's very, very cool. But mine's a little bit more subtle. If you don't really know, you're like, what does that mean? And it's like, well, I'm not going to tell you because after Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm incredibly embarrassed to be a Kingdom Hearts fan. or at least I am embarrassed that I was such a big Kingdom Hearts fan at one point that I actually made a username based off of it.
It's fair.
Yeah. So like, and I have siblings who all have those like Trixel for Tyler is like, that's his like Nintendo name. Like, so I kind of passed this eldritch knowledge along to other people who have no real connection to Kingdom Hearts, but like, you know, it's a cool thing to just like scramble your name up and make a new word. So.
Yeah, and it's generally a little bit better and a little more subtle than, you know, sticking an X in front of your name, like X Delphi X 420.
Yeah, which I am also guilty of doing because
we all did once upon a time.
Well, it was when I was playing like competitive Counter-Strike. So like we had
that was definitely the style of the time.
The height. That was definitely yeah. What is it? Yeah, they say it was. Yeah, it was in the style at the time, or like, you know, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it was definitely in vogue to do that. I played for a clan called Strike Force, and so it would be like end parenthesis or end bracket SF, start bracket, like equal sign dash, and then like leet
all
speak.
The little details. Yeah.
At the time, I was big into like Mech Warrior and Mech Assault and stuff like that. So my favorite mech was the Mad Cat. And so I was Mad Cat, but with leet speak. So M4D dash, C4T or something like that. Like it was.
Oh, I love that.
was
That takes me way back. I love
It
it.
was terrible. Man, you know what? That's probably going to be the title of this week's episode. Just going to be my old call sign. Oh,
Yeah,
so
I see
stupid.
nothing wrong with that.
So dumb.
Oh wow, everyone thinks they're cool at that age.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we look back and just go, what the hell were we thinking? And then there's the handful of people who never actually did the looking back and are still like our age and still just doing that. Like, yeah, this is so cool.
I was such a badass. It's like, well.
And that's how you get characters like Kai Lang in Mass Effect 3. It's just people never get past that point. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Man. What a freaking
I love that so much.
Hey, the one of the great things about being a podcast host is that you just get to expose all of your ridiculous idiosyncrasies.
It's true.
Yeah, it's truly wonderful. It's truly just
all the little stories and anecdotes come up over years and years.
Yep. It's great. It's great. I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, this whole Twitter thing is just
it's a joke.
Ridiculous.
It's the entire thing is just Speaking of, people who still think they're cool and haven't changed on that mindset from 12 years old. Hi, Musk. How you doing?
Yeah.
Man, I hope that is copyrighted like the rumor is saying.
Oh, man.
Oh, that would be the funniest goddamn thing if that happened. So for those who aren't sure, it seems to be the X thing in terms of use for messengers and, any of that is it's currently either trademarked by Meta, which would be hilarious, or potentially by Microsoft because Xbox stuff.
Yeah.
Which would be, either or would be hilarious and just means suddenly this whole Twitter thing was extremely ill-advised, much like everything that has happened to Twitter since Musk took over. So train wreck. It's the train wreck scene from Call of Duty that just keeps going. It's that. It's beautiful.
I'm racking my brain. There's not a single good change.
No, there hasn't been.
Like, not even one. He got rid of a bunch of people, and then every single thing he has done has been like, here, let me try to monetize this in a way that, like, was not possible based on how it was built. Like, he's trying to, like, Transformer-like start with, like, a robot and then end up with, like, a fucking boombox. It's like, this shit is not what you want. Like, you should have made your own thing. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's riskier. That's more expensive. It's so much easier to just buy the existing thing and then do that.
Would it be more expensive though?
Oh no!
You know how much he paid for it.
Oh, I know damn well. The fact is that's the mindset. Like that is the corporation mindset. It's like, we don't want to put all this time and effort and R&D into something from the ground up when we can just buy what's already there.
I mean, man, we could also pivot from that into talking about the ABK Microsoft thing. If you really want to take shots, being like, well, if you can't make something dope on your own, just go out and buy it,
Yeah. It's certainly a big part of it, but then, still very unhappy about that. Like, I see the short-term points that you guys brought up, but the long-term, that can only be bad, and I still hold to that. And I think you've come around to that mindset as well.
I have. I watched, the conversation that you and I had. I don't want to call it eye-opening because I understood it at the time. I think I just thought more about it. And then I watched an interview with, I think, Matt Follier or something like that, where he works for like an antitrust, anti-monopoly company. And
Matt Stoller, I believe.
Matt Stoller, there you go. And so I watched that interview, and that was eye-opening. Like, talking about AT&T being broken up several times over the last like maybe 100 years, and that like they invented the answering machine in like I think he said like 1938 or something, but we didn't get it until the 80s because there was no reason for them to release that, onto the consumer market. And it's just like, man, that sucks. Like, how much life-saving medical technology have we not gotten? How much? I mean, we already know. Maybe that's a push because like that stuff is pretty much always valuable. But I mean, you never know. But we know that automotive companies have bought up, patents for electric vehicles for just decades. And it wasn't until, funny enough, Tesla, that electric vehicles really became mainstream and desirable. And now people are like, okay, well, maybe we'll make a hybrid, maybe we'll make our own like electric vehicle, so
that thing we should have been doing 50 years ago.
Yeah. And so, it just sucks. So yeah, I have definitely come around a bit, on that. It's very easy. And I think this is one of the reasons why humans are doomed. If we want to be real and dark, is that it's incredibly easy for us to think selfishly and think, what's in it for me? And what does that mean for me today? Or what does that mean for me tomorrow? Thinking about the long term is something that we have a hard time doing. And it's something that's truly essential if we're going to actually thrive on this planet long term. And like,
and the problem is all of human society as it stands is built on, centuries of capitalism, and which is the core tenet of, the few excel at the cost of the many.
Yeah.
And so, people say, well, it's just human nature to be selfish. Like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that in the slightest. The fact is, we're all brought up in a system where we're encouraged to be selfish, where we need to look out for ourselves because no one else will do it for you. And, fuck you, got mine is the message of the day. And that's, I do believe we have the capacity for good, for, selflessness and helping each other out. But all of us are trained in this system. We're educated by this system, or failed to educate when it's more cost effective.
Yeah.
And that's just, as a result, it's like, it's really hard to overcome that. It's nothing to do with human nature, nothing at all.
I think if it was, then I think that people who lived in America would be happier than these more kind of socialized countries that rank among the happiest. Like, if you look at Norway or Denmark or Sweden or, whatever, all these other, these countries out there where they're like, oh, these are some of the happiest people ever. And they've got, really long life expectancies and stuff. And it's because they have really robust social safety nets and they pay a lot in taxes, but the peace of mind that you buy with that, knowing that if you want to take a year off for paternity leave, for paternity leave, you can do it. And you can be with your child and all that sort of stuff. You've got like, you can spend a month abroad every year if you want to on your vacation, or something like that. Like, you could do all kinds of crazy stuff. It's like, if people were sadder in those countries and they were happier here where it's dog eat dog and super cutthroat and all that sort of thing, then I would believe that it was human nature. Where it would be like, where we were when we were really happiest is when we're, in the gladiators arena. Like, when we're just ripping each other's throats out, when we're at war. Like, if we were really happiest then I would believe that. Instead of war is hell, like, we don't want that naturally. We want peace.
If killing is human nature, why do we have to be trained at it?
Yeah. Why isn't it just natural? Like, yeah, we get angry.
And why does it do so much damage to us,
Yeah. Psychologically and all that sort of stuff. But anyways, this is a video games podcast.
I blame Twitter.
It is
I'm still going to call it Twitter.
Yeah. I guess we didn't actually did we actually say that
we didn't actually go into the news, but I'm pretty sure at this point it's just the biggest goddamn story on the internet.
Yeah, and, it was renamed,
coincidentally the meme of the day.
Yeah, it was renamed. Twitter was renamed today to X, which is fucking so dumb.
Because again, Elon Musk hasn't changed what he thinks is cool and intelligent from the age of 12. And he's making it our problem.
When he had PayPal, he was trying to make that X.com, and it's just like, oh man.
And everyone else is like, no, that's stupid. Get the hell out of here. And then he went and did his own thing. He's held on to it ever since, and even named his kid, some ridiculous fucking bastardization of that. Oh man, that poor kid never had a hope in hell, and yet will be richer than we will ever know.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's wild, but yeah, like I'm still hoping for some kind of lawsuit. Oh, by the way, that's copyrighted, and you didn't do the research because you're an idiot. And that would be hilarious. But I don't think anyone's actually going to call it X or call them Zeets. We're just going to call it Twitter and tweets because it's easier to say, it's easier, and it's just ingrained in consciousness. Or everyone's just going to bail.
Wouldn't it be pronounced sheets?
Yeah, it probably would be.
I'm going to go sheet myself.
That's the joke.
I mean, it's perfect. These things write themselves. I might as well not even be. It is
absolutely perfect for what is happening over there. So yeah, that's hilarious.
I will say,
hilarious.
Yeah, if I didn't have an affection for Twitter, I would really be just living my best life because every single decision is just rife with comedy.
Yeah, I'm glad I never banked too heavily on Twitter or got that involved in it. Like anytime I needed to use it for promotion or whatever, I would do that and then just not touch it afterwards or just not bother maintaining it. It's like, I don't need it. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm, in the corner of the internet with no notoriety whatsoever. But who cares?
Who cares indeed? Yeah, it makes me sad because both the way that I got into the games industry and the way that I got a job at IGN were both through Twitter. So it's like there's a bit of like, if it goes away, I have a hard time believing that people in the games industry specifically will adopt a single solution. Right now, Blue Sky is my favorite, but a lot of influencers and people have gone over to Threads, which is just, Zuckerberg and Meta and all that.
Going right back to Facebook and Instagram. It's just the same thing, but
Yeah, one thing I like about Threads is that it's not Instagram and you don't have to post pictures, which I like. That's like my one thing. Like if Instagram let you not post pictures and just post something, I probably would have been all in on Instagram a long time ago.
That makes sense, yeah.
Because like I know a lot of people personally there, like that post there, that are very active there. It's actually interesting because I have by far the biggest following on Twitter, I think, but that is the place where I get the least engagement. Like if I post literally the same thing to Twitter and to Instagram and to Facebook, I get way more like interactions on Facebook and Instagram than I do on Twitter.
It's probably just the amount of people on Twitter means you're always getting people just like seeing it, scrolling it, not, there's so much going on. It's like, yeah, we don't have time to comment on absolutely everything unless it really rankles us or really, It's like if it's not a very curated list of people that they follow, then they're not going to bother. You'll just be, one on the doom scroll. So
yeah,
which isn't, makes sense.
And again, it's not always true. Like also my highest engagement of all time stuff has all been on Twitter. But that's because that's where I post most often and all that sort of stuff. But anyways, all that to say, I can't necessarily see Twitter recovering from this like fully. But if people continue to use it as it kind of hobbles along, I think that's going to be, I don't know. I think that's
everybody just needs to cut their losses and leave and the whole thing will be solved. But that's the problem. It's just, it has such a rusted on user base and following that people are still going to be using it, and therefore it'll still keep hobbling along as long as they're there. So if you're listening to this and you haven't done so yet, it's like consider cutting it out. Like, for the sake of everyone, even if it sucks a bit in the short term.
Yeah.
It'll be better.
It does suck because for a while, like one of Musk's justifications for buying it is he wanted to turn it into the town square, and it already was the town square. And feeling like I'm gonna maybe lose that, if not completely, at least like by degrees, is kind of sad because I don't really have any other type of thing like that other than Facebook, which is really like something I use largely for family. And just because of a legacy thing, because I've had it forever. Like I used it. I was huge into Facebook in college or whatever, but it feels weird because like I don't want to add people as friends that I don't know that are just like trying to follow me or whatever, because that feels like more personal. Whereas Twitter feels like this is very simple. This is very truncated. Like you can't go back and like read a bunch of like very kind of like emo songs that I wrote in college and stuff like that. You know, you're not going to go back and see all these weird notes that I wrote, like, you know,
Not
like,
getting the weird timeline things of this is you 20 years ago. I was like, get that shit out of here.
to my future ex-girlfriend or whatever, like something like that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird. It's weird. So the thought of like losing that and then like not being anywhere else is like tantalizing from a just life, like mental wellness sort of a thing, but also like, man, that's like the loss of like a major outlet for things. But
Yeah, I'm of the mindset that whether it's any of these replacements or whatever, if there is a need for it, if there is the means and the need, then the town square will emerge again. If if there is a gap, either because Twitter is down or some of these other ones don't do it, someone will figure it out. Someone always does. And then, it may not necessarily, it may be small, it may be not, all that profitable to start off with, but that's how it all starts. And the creativity side comes from, a place of necessity and what if, as opposed to corporations trying to do all that, because they won't take the risk. They won't do that unless there's guaranteed money in it. So they'll take something established. So it'll be on somebody to come along and just go, okay, yeah, no, we got this thing. We made this thing.
yeah.
And this is serving the need, and it has gotten enough traction that everyone is jumping on it, and then a company will go in, thank you, that's all. Like, I mean, Discord, we're using it right now and started as a similar thing. It's like there is a gap in the market here because MSN Messenger went down and then Skype got bought out and then just got progressively worse. Everyone's like, we need a better one that's still easier and more feature rich and everything. And so we did that. And that came along, and as it's gotten bigger, it's gotten, progressively worse, and more bad decisions and attempts to monetize it and such have come in. And who knows, we may have to replace this before long. But we did it before, we'll do it again, if that's what it takes.
It is true. It is true. There was a time when Twitter was not, and there will be a time when it is not. All empires fall, no matter how mighty. And, yeah. Oh, Mum Jump in the chat says, Happy National Tequila Day. That is unfortunate because I'm pretty sure this is vodka.
I don't have any booze on me, but I could go downstairs afterwards. Problem is, it's still morning for me, so it's not a good idea for me to start day drinking. You
gotta start drinking at what time is it?
It is 10:30 on 10:30, Tuesday.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You could do it.
I could. Yeah, I like to not do so just in case, because I may need to do other things today, but I don't have that much scheduled. So
if Will was here, he'd be like, "I'm a writer, damn it! I can drink whatever I want."
Well, I am also a writer, and I could damn well drink when I want. But I think I'm saving my liver because I've got a trip coming up in a couple of weeks where I'm just going to be,
that is
just curled up on a couch in the mountains, drunk for like 3 days. So that should be fun.
Yeah,
but I need a warm up for that.
Very true. All right, let's get into.
Let's talk some video games.
We're almost a half hour in. Let's get into some games.
We did touch on some relevant topics. Let's be real.
We did. It is true, and that does technically fall under nerd culture, if we want to get pedantic about it. But let me start the show.
Please do.
With a little thing called the Nintendo Switch. It's a beautiful device. I'm actually thinking about replacing these with something that's like a little bit more ergonomic. Like maybe the Hori pads or something like that. That's like feels more like the Pro Controller when I'm actually using it handheld, because I basically always am playing handheld.
I haven't plugged mine in since I played Smash Bros. With it some time ago. So yeah.
Yeah. Big handheld fan. Nintendo, please never change. Please just make better and better versions of this from now on.
Yeah.
Because
we don't need to fully innovate. A Switch 2 would be grand.
No,
That's what we really need.
just start. I mean, you nailed it. So just keep doing this. Make them all backwards compatible. Let me be able to plug into a dock and go up on the screen. Or even better yet, just a HDMI port, pop straight into the bottom. Don't even need a dock. But you know what?
That'd be really, really handy.
I digress because the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I beat, I think 2 days ago, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And
all right.
I have played it for 85 hours. And
I have no idea what my playtime is, but it's probably in that ballpark.
let me actually pull up my photo album because I took a little thing. So I have I think I have 21 hearts, 3 full stamina wheels. I have defeated or completed, I think, 90 shrines, found 57 light roots, 58 little donkey doos hidden around the place. I forget what they're called. Koroks. And yeah, it's a really fantastic game. I definitely had some beef with the last kind of section. I found I'm not going to get into spoilers because I believe we are doing I am planning on doing a deep dive on this game. So right now the deep dives that we have planned are for Final Fantasy 16 and Zelda. We've already done Diablo. I'm not sure what else we're going to do. If we get into Starfield, maybe we'll do one on that. I don't know. That could be interesting.
I'm going to be too busy with Baldur's Gate 3 to touch on Starfield, and I don't
We're definitely going to do a deep dive
We're
on
doing Baldur's Gate 3, though.
Because
we should do a deep dive on Baldur's Gate 2 because it means so much to us. But
we should. But yes. So yeah, we'll also do one on Baldur's Gate 3, particularly because I'm actually now covering it, which means I'm definitely going to be playing it. So it's...
Yep. You're going to be playing it even more than I am, and I'm doing it by choice, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I may be doing... So just I'm covering Baldur's Gate 3 for GameSpot with a rather large team of people. So I'm going to be making a best classes piece and, slash class tier list. And I also might be doing a class guide for wizards, but we'll see. Because I typically run wizard whenever I play a D&D game. So I'm planning on doing that. That is not currently on the roster for like the guides that are going up right now. But if we do expand into...
Do you have any experience with like 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, like in person or anything like that? Or
I do through some games, but not this one, and not with the Larian thing, because because Baldur's Gate 2 is so near and dear to me, I have not played the early access version at all, because I was like, I'm waiting until it is done. When it is done, I will play it, because I know I'm going to be really particular about this game.
Yeah, I've already been through that entire experience in the early access, just going, but I like Baldur's Gate 2 and I want a proper sequel to that, and it's never. And even that, Larian has gone out multiple times and addressed that, and I've made peace with it and done all that. And it's like, dude, the Ballspawn saga wrapped up, and it wrapped up great.
Yeah,
Which
is fine. Like I don't need a Ballspawn sequel. Even though that is, I guess, what this is.
I think you're gonna get one.
Yeah, but that's not what I wanted. What I wanted was something that felt like Baldur's Gate 2, like the spirit of it. Like I don't necessarily care, because like there's a part of me that understands that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be truer if it adopts Divinity Original Sin 2 DNA, which, like, full disclosure, I did not really like that game that much. Like I covered it in review on this show, and like I didn't really like it that much. Like it was cool, it was okay when it was working, but I definitely found it like more tedious and frustrating. It was like the Skyrim of Baldur's Gate, basically. It's like, I don't want to fucking pick up everything. I just want to play the goddamn game. And I feel like that is definitely more true to the spirit of Dungeons and Dragons. And I can be honest about that. Like being able to pick up anything, interact with anything, get really creative and granular with the ways that you strategize your approaches, your attacks, whatever you want to do. Like, that is way more true to Dungeons and Dragons, but that doesn't necessarily make it Baldur's Gate. And
yeah, the closest equivalent to Baldur's Gate is actually the games that Owlcat has been doing, the two Pathfinder ones. So Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous.
Okay.
That feels a lot more.
They gave that away on like Epic Games, didn't they?
They might have given Kingmaker away. I don't know. But like Wrath of the Righteous came out, I want to say a year and a half, 2 years ago. I want to say 2021. But that game rules. That game rules. Kingmaker is okay, but a little bit tedious and such. Wrath of the Righteous rules. It is so good. But it has the best like spiritual successor energy to that kind of isometric
Pathfinder
Infinity
Kingmaker.
Engine CRPG. Yeah.
So I own Pathfinder Kingmaker on Epic Games. So.
Yeah, that is a good game, but it's definitely got a few more rough edges and such, which they sanded down and polished up, and then went wild in a few areas to Wrath of the Righteous, and it's great. I really like that game. And it's and just in terms of like mechanics,
also big fans of Tyranny.
We are, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, those games feel like they have more of the exact same kind of energy. Like you would drop into one of the Pathfinder games and just immediately go, oh yeah, no, I know exactly what I'm doing, just by providence of camera position, height, mechanics and such, being like, yep, no, I know this. Real time with pause, here we go, let's go. And yeah, so Kingmaker's a good time. Wrath of the Righteous is an excellent time. Highly recommend if you're looking for exactly that. But
nice. I'll probably have to check that out. But
for sure. But we went on a tangent. We were talking about Zelda originally.
We're talking about Zelda. I parts of the ending I didn't super love, but I think it ends on like a really nice note. I think it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. I guess I'm gonna keep my powder dry for the spoiler cast, but yeah, I recommend it. It's so funny because people were saying things like, man, like, a lot of people wait until they try to 100% a game, or maybe they'll stop a game before they're gonna beat it. Make sure you beat Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm like, I guess, like I feel like there's a lot of stuff lately that people are just like, oh man, it's so incredible. And I'm like, it just doesn't hit me quite the same. Like I really, really like
I'm completely the same with you. And
I don't know what it is, but I definitely really, really like it. It is, let me pull up my backlog real quick. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is probably my front runner for Game of the Year.
It's still, for me, obviously, I played more of it before you did. And so it's still, I basically made up my mind on it by the time we hit Diablo 4. And so Diablo 4 is still my front runner. And we'll talk more about that later on. But,
an interesting. Oh, yeah. I guess the other thing would be like, I guess my other front runner was Wild Frost.
You did speak very highly of that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, shit. And let me tell you, man, the more time that goes by, the more Street Fighter 6 is like creeping up.
After yesterday, no, it kicked its way into my heart with a fucking whirlwind. I love Rashid. Spoiler ahead.
Yeah, we will talk about that. But one thing that I think is very, very interesting, and this is kind of because I love Wild Frost. I think I can't really in good conscience give Wild Frost a 10 because it's like so fucking hard. Like that game is like, that is like the hardest game I have played in a extremely long time.
Yeah, I've heard it's extremely punishing.
It's like borderline impossible. Like even when you have like a really great deck that you've built, like you just get to one encounter and that you just get your shit kicked in. It's ridiculous. It's so hard, but like it's basically, other than the difficulty, I think Wild Frost is basically perfect. Like I wish there were like accessibility options or difficulty options or something where you could be like, make it a little bit easier, because like I think that game is legitimately like just absolutely incredible. I think that might be the game of all the games that have come out this year that I'm just like, I have the fewest issues with. Aside from like maybe DLC, like the Spider of Blanca DLC for Case of the Golden Idol, and like Street Fighter 6. Like Street Fighter 6 has some issues, but you know, and Disguise 7 is still coming out, and you know, there's other games that could sneak up, but I think that Zelda is definitely up there. It's definitely probably top 2. And one of the reasons for that is that I beat Diablo 4 and I basically lost all of my desire to play it. Like I like hopped back in and was like, oh, let me check and see what the tree wants. And I went and talked to the tree and it's like, go find these people. And I'm like, no, I don't think I will. No. I don't think I want to. So it's been very interesting to see people be so kind of enamored with it. Like I mean, we talked about it in our deep dive. Like I was a big fan of that game, and then it ended, and I was like, okay, I'm good. Like I don't really.
Sometimes you get that for games. It's like, yep, no, I've reached the end. I'm satisfied. I don't need to full complete it. I don't need to run different characters. One and done is enough.
Yeah, and
I get you.
It's very strange to feel that way, and then see a bunch of people be like, yeah, I'm getting ready for the season stuff, and then put out that patch and be like, whoa, fuck this. Like a bunch of people are really unhappy about this, which I know you've got something to say about, but it's been weird because with Zelda, it's been the exact opposite. It's like, I didn't really feel any push to beat it. And now that I have, like, I still kind of want to explore. Like I've kind of, I don't know if you would say min-maxed, but like, I have weapons that have like 138 attack. Like you've done your due diligence to like beat the power curve. Yeah, like I have like 10 weapons right now that are over 100 attack power, whether they're one-handed or two-handed or whatever. I've got the, I guess minor spoilers for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So skip ahead by like 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've got the fully maxed out like Fierce Deity like Oni Link set, which is just what I wear because it's got the classic like Link tunic formula, but like his eyes are glowing.
It's an awesome look because it's the Fierce Deity.
Yeah, which is funny because like that's apparently that the Japanese version like literally translates to demon god. And you're in this game, you're fighting the Demon King, and it's like, I saw some art that somebody did where it was like Ganondorf standing like really tall, and then it was like Oni Link standing really tall behind him, and it just says in parentheses Demon God, and it's just like
what's a king to a god,
Exactly, yeah. So like I'm rocking that. I've got my Hylian shield. Like and the Master Sword and all sorts and all these crazy weapons and stuff. Like I'm good. Like I can just wander around. I can wander around this world and effectively just run the place. So it's not that. It's just that like I really like what the shrines are doing. So I'm at the very least like even if I don't do anything else, like I'm gonna go get all the shrines because I want to solve all those puzzles. I want to enjoy.
If I went back to the game, that'd 100% be what I did. I'd just go back for the shrines. I'd do the puzzle. That's the part of the game I enjoyed the most by far.
Yeah, and it was the same with Breath of the Wild. Like I did all 120 shrines, and I don't know if there's 120 in this, but I'm planning on doing all of them. Yeah, nice.
There's like 150-ish, give or take.
Nice. So yeah, so I'm planning on doing that, but the draw to come back to Zelda, and I think that it might partially be because it's on Switch. So like if Diablo 4 was on Switch, like I'd probably be playing it a lot more, just because, I can carry it.
It's convenient. You pick it up and play. You'd go wherever.
In my pocket, whenever I want, and all that sort of stuff. So, It's weird, but like feeling that draw to come back after I beat it, and not feeling that with the Diablo, has been a little eye opening, and I don't know whether like feeling a desire to move forward with that and with Street Fighter, you know, and having that longevity really, I haven't decided if that means more to me or not, than like just enjoying the time that I spent with it, because I think Diablo 4 is definitely really special. I think it's probably top 3 for this year. I think my top 3 are probably Street Fighter, Diablo 4, and Zelda. Yeah. Or Wild Frost is in there somewhere. There's also like other like really incredible games like Season and Vengeful Guardian Moonrider, and Humanity. Like there's so many great games this year.
It's a strong one so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into more. We're gonna do like a full story breakdown in the deep dive. But yeah, I'm very pleased, and I also like how kind of Tears of the Kingdom kind of bookends the Zelda timeline potentially, depending on how you look at things. But yeah, it's interesting. So given that, and that I was not particularly drawn back to Diablo, I really wanted to hear what you had to say about being kind of pulled continuously forward with it. With the I'm guessing the season journey is live now, right?
Yeah, as of a couple of days ago. Okay. I want to say 4 days. Yeah. So I can tell you, yeah. I will say that, yeah, I like obviously Tears of the Kingdom kind of took over the internet and the gaming landscape for a while, and I was of the mindset previously, like Breath of the Wild is quite literally the most acclaimed game of all time. I know, my friend has run the numbers. We have done the research. And so, but then I go into it and it's like, Tears of the Kingdom is just like, this is a straight up improvement on Breath of the Wild in damn near every way. And I'll be more curious to see, like in the coming years, where people rank them on different lists and what people have to say about like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in hindsight and how they relate to each other and which is better and why. That'll be an interesting discussion to be had. But as such, I kind of went into Tears of the Kingdom and, I did like a single battle with it. And it's like, cool, I've already mastered this combat system. I had mastered this combat system half a game ago. Not a lot has changed. And, the various features that could be, changed are either very heavily menu driven, a little bit clunky, require setup. And so the actual core fundamentals of it still just end up being very tedious, I found. It's like, I try to avoid combat as much as possible because there's just so much of it and it doesn't accomplish that much. Whereas previously, like, you go for like Ocarina of Time, for example, and there's certainly some combat, which is just like, it's filler, but most combat encounters in the typical Zelda game or Zelda dungeon, they serve a purpose. They're either to break up puzzles or to be combat puzzles in their own way. In here, I didn't really feel that for a lot of them. I felt like here's a bunch of enemies. Have fun. Fuck around with them if you want. Style on them if you want. Throw fucking robots at them if you want. You can do whatever the fuck you want with it. But there's so much of it that I'm just like, yeah, I just don't want to do any of that. I'm just going to go over here now. Which is why I love the shrines. The puzzles, like the puzzles great. And the way, the puzzles are really good. The way they link into the building mechanics and usually give you a handful of parts and say, figure it out. And there's multiple answers. It doesn't matter. It's just as long as you get over there, you can do all sorts of bullshit. And it's great. I love that part of it, truly. But the rest of it, I'm just saying, The story it's better than Breath of the Wild, which actively distracted from my experience. Yeah. Whereas here, I'm just like, it's fine. It's okay. It's serviceable. But, like I just...
to me because I wish that Will was here because he dunks on Final Fantasy VIII all the time because that game incentivizes you not to fight because enemies scale. That's also true of Tears of the Kingdom. Like, the more enemies you fight, there's a hidden experience system that the more enemies you kill, and the more higher enemies you kill, the harder it gets. So this game
But you
also
also
incentivizes
replenish your
you.
resources off it. That's the thing that I think is the difference.
It's true, but that to me feels like you should basically only kill enemies that have the best stuff. So like basically what you should do is you should only kill Lionels. Like explore and find like whatever it is that you need to find until you have high enough equipment or high enough materials to beat a Lionel. Then you beat a Lionel, then you only kill them, and then you just use their stuff and whatever.
And from that point on, bokoblins and moblins are just like pointless. Just avoid them at all points. They are only a drain on your resources.
Yeah, which is very strange. So I would be really curious, particularly considering that, like, I forget whether Will actually reviewed this game for Game Skinny or something, but I think he said that this was the first game he'd ever given a 10 to, which I'd be really
he adores it, that's for sure.
I'd be really curious if he knew that, because I remember that was something that just came out like not super long ago, but definitely not at launch. People didn't know this. I wonder if
that's a relatively new discovery, I feel.
I wonder what he would think about that given that kind of additional context. But yeah, it's I think it's very interesting. I am almost interested in trying to get through it not fighting anybody I could actually avoid fighting and seeing how that would be.
Seeing what enemies spawn and where and when and all that. Just
like
by
seeing,
contrast.
Because by the end of the game, there are just silver enemies everywhere, which are super tough. But like, if I don't, but like, I'm the type of person, I am the polar opposite. Like, I'm fighting, I'm killing everybody.
That's fair.
So, but that's usually because I'm just like, I'm going to get some resources. I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm also the guy that goes out of his way to pick up every freaking flower and all this sort of stuff. Like I
do a lot of that as well, but like I don't go into all the combat and such more often than not, because it's like, it's tedious, it's time consuming. I don't enjoy the system that much. It's no real danger to me, especially once, your defense value gets high enough. And that's another big point I can touch on, is that it wants to be an RPG almost with its statistics and systems and such, but hasn't gone all the way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a weird middle ground between like what would be a typical RPG number system and a typical Zelda game.
Yeah.
It's in this midpoint where it kind of has aspects of both, but more weaknesses, more cons than pros, I feel.
Because previously, the only sort of damage mitigation that you would get would be if you got certain things. So like you look at Link to the Past or something. You get the blue armor, then you get the red armor, or vice versa. And one of them halves the damage that you take, and then the next one cuts it in half again, so you're taking a fourth of the damage you originally would. That's literally it. And the only other thing that you get is additional hearts. Like you don't have like an armor value or something.
It's not truly an RPG or anything like that in that regard. The systems are a lot simpler, a lot more static, and therefore the hearts are balanced better around them.
Yeah.
By contrast, they've kind of gone more into the RPG systems here, but are still relying on hearts, which is why I call it a binary health system, because it is, in the early days in particular, it's like, it doesn't matter how many hearts you've got. You're going to die in one hit, hit, 2 hits.
Yeah.
Until you get higher defense value. So at which point it becomes you're only taking like quarter hearts from a swing. It's like, what's the point? So it's binary health. It's either you have it or you don't.
I mean,
it either becomes an issue or you have so much you'll never have to worry about it again.
And this was back when we covered on the show, like for listeners who were listening to the show when we talked about Breath of the Wild. One of my big critiques of Breath of the Wild and contrasting that with the From Software games is that From Software games incentivize you to explore by putting pieces of equipment, pieces of armor, lore notes, and different consumables and things like that around the environment to force you to explore. But those games are still far more linear than Breath of the Wild is, and Tears of the Kingdom are.
Very much so.
It's kind of like when we went from 2D to 3D. You had, Ratchet and Clank and Crash Bandicoot and Mario all doing different things with the 3D space. You had, and when we're talking about exploration and things, from software games and Zelda, specifically the Breath of the Wild games, were going about it differently. The way that Zelda incentivized you to explore is by having your weapons break. So you have to constantly be running around, poking your nose where it doesn't belong, trying to find more resources, because your resources are going to break. Your shields are going to break.
It's closer to a survival game than FromSoft game in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wish it wasn't that way. I wish you could just, I've talked a lot about like my appreciation for the way that Bungie did Halo multiplayer, where as opposed to Activision and Call of Duty, I like it when your gun is your gun. You and I and everybody else out on the internet have the exact same assault rifle in Halo. It's the same gun. And if I beat you, it's because I'm better at the game than you are. Whereas,
I know when to use it, where to shoot, etc., etc.
Yes, I know how to control the burst of the burst rifle such that the last hit, after it pops your shields with the first two, hits you right in the head and you're down. It's skill-based, which I understand can be frustrating for people who are not as good. But if you prestige a bunch of times in Call of Duty and you just have a gun that's better or that has better attachments, or you're doing this in Destiny where like, oh, I had a bunch of friends carry me through this big raid, and so now I've got this godlike weapon roll, and so I'm just going to clown on you in the Crucible. Like, that's less interesting to me. And so in the Souls games, the longsword is the fucking longsword. And you can get it up to +10, or you can do an infusion or whatever. But generally, the weapon is the weapon. You only need one. You only have one, whatever. And in Zelda, it's like,
it's going to swing in the same exact way the whole time.
Yep. And I like that they added the fuse system. I think the fuse system is really interesting in Tears of the Kingdom. But the fact that you're constantly on the back foot with your weapons breaking, I feel like is an elegant solution to get people to poke around, but I think it's just less compelling to me.
What I feel like it did, if I may be so bold as to take over here, is in Breath of the Wild, what I felt was an issue was that I didn't have an issue with the durability of weapons per se. Like a lot of people go, the mechanic shouldn't be there. Some really defend it. I'm just like, it's fine. It's just a little overtuned in favor of breaking. 5 hits and the thing is broken. It's too much.
I would be fine with that.
But even more so, the fact is, opening, like, if you go back to like more classic Zelda games or whatever, you open a chest, it's an event, right? You open a big chest in a dungeon, you are getting a new item that changes how you play.
Oh my god, I got the bow. The game is totally different.
Finally. The hook shot, totally different. All this, that, and the other thing. You don't those.
The biggest indictment I have against Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is there's no fucking hook shot.
God, it would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But like there's very little adding to your toolkit. You get most of it from the start, and it's like, here you go, figure it out. And I mean, that's cool. That makes for a great sandbox experience. But like, as a result, combined with that and the fact that your weapons aren't as tangible, they aren't as memorable, you're going through them constantly, it means it devalues the feeling of reward you get whenever you crack open a chest. Because like half the time, even if I'd find the bonus chests in a shrine, particularly in Breath of the Wild, I'd pop it open. It's like, cool, it's a sword that is 30 attack power less than anything else I've got, and I've got a full inventory. Back it goes. Yeah. It's like, that is the worst. At least
it feels pretty bad.
Tears of the Kingdom is a little better in that, more often than not, it'll be resources which you can then plug onto a weapon and make them stronger. And it's like, that's cool. That's fine. But it really did just feel like it diminished the value of rewards, is how I feel that the overall system did, both in terms of the degradation and durability and just, how it all goes. Like the reward economy is such that it's not really there. It's a constant slow trickle as opposed to big highs and, peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And I mean, that works better for some, works less for others. Yeah. But then you combine that with the statistics system as it is, and how it's just not fully fledged out as in terms of like, you have attack and defense values, but no real indication of exactly how that's affecting you. You have all these different perks and such, which you can get. You don't have the numbers. You don't know exactly how much damage to do. Like you get the attack up thing from the barbarian outfit. It's like, how much attack? What is that? Doesn't tell you. Doesn't give you that. So you can't really work with it. You just kind of have to go with it. And ultimately, it doesn't feel like it makes a huge amount of difference.
Yeah.
The enemies are still very spongy unless you have like, plus 100 weapons.
Yeah.
And you still die in either one hit or so many hits it doesn't matter. There's very little middle ground depending on where your defense value is at compared to the attack value of the enemy. Yeah. It's extremely linear, and it's all calculated, I believe, additively and subtractively as opposed to multiplicatively, which is what a lot of armor systems and such in games do. Like World of Warcraft, for example, is like the more armor you get, the more percentage mitigation you get.
Yeah.
So
like raid tanks will get up to like, you'd be like, I'm at like 60, 70, 80%, damage reduction or something like that,
Yeah, it's staggering, but it's never to the point of nothing and never to the point of one-shotting somebody who doesn't. Yeah. Typically. Tank bosses will, but that's the point. Yeah. They bust tanks. You have no chance. But as a result, though, the statistics and systems of Tears of the Kingdom aren't as well thought out, either because Nintendo doesn't care or they didn't really bother with it. It's like, no, our creativity and focus is elsewhere. And I mean, fair enough. That's fine. Yeah. It just means that there's a lot of foundational work that has a lot of flaws, and that affects the core fundamentals of the game, which continued to bother me the more I played. Because it's great to just, to make a vehicle and just style on a camp. It's great to find these puzzles and go, how do I get over there with the tools I have here? I love those moments, but the typical amount of combat doesn't really accomplish much. It either becomes tedious and either a danger or a cakewalk. Very little middle ground. Now, I prefer it being dangerous as opposed to a cakewalk, but it's still just like, at that point, it's just, my time is being taken up, and I might get some resources here that I can eventually use for upgrades. The higher tier take a lot of, getting your 4-star armor takes a lot of resources.
Yeah.
But in the end, I'm just like, I don't need to do this. I'm just running past it. I'll find something else that's more interesting. And that started to rankle on me as the experience went on. And it's something I don't think enough people talk about. It's just because, the highs of the game are high. Yeah. The systems and sandbox is great. It really is. The narrative is good. It's fine. It's not as strong as the series has been. It's not as weak as Breath of the Wild was. But the problem is, it's like this is awesome castle built on foundations of sand. And every so often I'll take a step on it and just start sinking and go, I don't know about this. And that's where I'm at with Tears of the Kingdom. And that's why I struggle to like it as much as everybody else. And same was true of Breath of the Wild. I can't call it like the best game ever. I can't even call it the best Zelda game ever. Yeah. There's just a few too many issues that you can typically ignore to just go, but the cool thing though, look at this robot, look at this. And it's like, absolutely. But I can't ignore these factors. I can't not look at this.
Yeah.
And
another thing
it is to their credit that there's so much that you can, that so many people can.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I definitely understand people's criticisms when they say, well, it's not really a Zelda game though. Because if you look at the way that effectively every other Zelda game works, ignoring, spin-offs like Triforce Heroes and Link's crossbow training and all that sort of stuff. It is really different. You do have a lot more inventory management. You do have a lot more of this sort of stuff. It's totally open world, whereas Zelda games are largely very linear. There's also just completely different focuses, and it's fascinating to be able to kind of take a step back and say, yes, it's not really like a Zelda game, but also it's still a pretty great game.
Yeah, I think I need to come out and say, absolutely. I do compare it to, classic Zeldas and such, how they work. I understand that it's a very different game. I am fine with it being a very different game, but I would rather the different game it has become be more thought out and soundly constructed in terms of foundations, like those earlier games were, because trying to move on, hold on to legacy systems like the way Hearts work and everything like that without fully embracing everything else, has kind of left it in this weird middle ground. And it's like, I'm fine with it going in this new direction, but you got to commit. You got to commit. You got to work on those foundational stuff, because otherwise, the more you add to this, the more it's just going to start sinking into the sand.
Now,
I would love a classic Zelda game again in the future.
Me too, man. Me too.
But
particularly 2D.
That would be cool, and especially because the parts of Tears of the Kingdom that I like the most, again, like the puzzling aspects, the figuring out little things like that, and exploration and such. Most of that is in the classic game. That is still the highlight of it. So I love doing the temples and such, and figuring out the puzzles and such of the classic games. Those are great. So the shrines are like mini versions of those. They're single rooms of what would be a dungeon otherwise. Yeah. And it's like, this is great. I like this. But
which is funny because this game has 4 dungeons and they're not particularly engaging, I don't think.
Yeah. I feel they start strong. That's the problem. Like, they
Depending
give you
on which
like
one
the
you
win.
Go to.
So if you follow the path that they kind of nudge you towards, you're going to go to the Wind Temple first. And that is by far the best, both in terms of spectacle, design, mechanics. That was the one I enjoyed the most.
And the reward you get is the best of all of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so I'm like, this is great. It was like, that was the first thing in the game that made me go from, and then it's like, oh, there's the wow moment. So I'm like, ooh, that's cool. Yeah. And there were a couple of those in Breath of the Wild. There's moments in Breath of the Wild that I can pick out where I went exploring and found something fucking cool. I'm like, wow. Or the first time you find dragons or shit like that. It's like, wow, that's cool. Those stick with you more. In Tears of the Kingdom, I found nothing or very little that wasn't just a holdover from which I'd already had the wow moment in Breath of the Wild, aside from the Wind Temple. Like, that first dungeon was like, whoa, okay, now you got me. And then every subsequent one was like, well, there's bits and pieces that are all right, but nothing really hit me like that again. And there was one, like the kind of like the mini boss where you at the fire temple place, when before you go into the volcano, how like the thing comes out of it. Yeah. I went, wow, oh, it's dead. Okay.
Yeah.
That was the biggest disappointment.
Fast. Yeah. But I really do like that boss fight. That was fun. It's really simple.
It was cool. It was there, but it was extremely simple. I'm like, that could be.
That's honestly, that's how I feel about the end boss, even though people are like just falling over themselves praising it. I'm just like, it was
fine,
easy. Like, it was so easy and straightforward and simple. And I don't know, the way everybody was building
they have to tune it for people that don't have the gear level that you did, I think, is the problem.
Sure, but even so, like, I feel like it wouldn't have been fun. It just would have been more tedious if I had less power. Like, I don't think that the combat in this game is like great. It's
single combat, perfect dodges, blocks, and that's about it. It's extremely simple.
The difference is, like, that stuff might feel good, but it's not like it's like nailing a perfect dodge feels good, but it's not good. You know what I mean?
And it's not so good that it will last you for potentially 200 hours of game, more so if you played both games.
And like, people
because that's like I said, I went into the game, it's like, yeah, cool, I've already mastered this combat system a game ago. What else you got? Oh, nothing? Okay, carry on.
Yeah. But people and by people, I think Chris, I think you know exactly who I mean, will make fun of Souls combat for being sauceless or basic or whatever. That shit is a hell of a lot more engaging and fun than fighting people in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Like, it's just, I don't know. I feel it's better tuned. It doesn't overstay its welcome either way. Yeah. Either you fuck up and die quick, or you're going to kill them reasonably quickly. Yeah.
And the big moments and bosses do feel like engaging and impactful enough that you really do have to get into the zone to kind of land it right.
Yeah.
So I like the obvious comparison, the bigger elephant in the room is Tears of the Kingdom better than Elden Ring? No. And that will be the discussion in the long run. And I absolutely do not think so.
No, I don't.
I think Elden Ring is much better.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah. So yeah, we'll obviously have more to talk about this when we hit the deep dive in however many coming weeks, and it'll be good to see. But yeah,
I definitely think that Elden Ring is the greatest open world game ever made, which
It
is
took the ideas that Breath of the Wild had and then did better fundamentals and
yeah.
then ran further with it.
And
And I
it's
feel
also like
that's
a
what puts it
greatest
apart.
hits of all of From Software's like games,
Very much so.
which is fucking crazy because they constantly. It is so ridiculous, and I know that we've talked about this on the show before. Although this was definitely before your time.
This is before I was a host, yeah.
As a host, but it is actually insane the degree to which Elden Ring takes the best of Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne, and Sekiro, and puts all of that shit into one game. Like,
yeah,
it is so nuts.
It has so much stuff in there. It's great.
And, like, if you're looking at, like, oh, like, I really like how Demon Souls didn't beat me over the head with difficulty. It's like, well, we got a bunch of dungeon end bosses that are pretty easy or have like very interesting, like unique gimmicks. Like, what is it? The Fallen Warrior or something in Demon Souls where it's like, yo, when you figure this out, this is a really cool, like that might not be the name, but like it's in.
I haven't had as much Demon Souls experience, unfortunately.
It's the boss of like 4-2 or 4-3. The stormy area. You go down to the catacombs, and before you get to the one with Storm Ruler, it's the boss before that.
I've almost certainly seen it, and I just don't remember the details. So yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
but that stuff is there.
That stuff is there.
Yeah.
You know, you get Spirit Caller Snail, which is an awesome boss fight in Elden Ring. But yeah, it's just there's nothing like that in this game, which is crazy because like even if you look at like Thunderblight Ganon or all of that, you know, sort of stuff, like those were like I didn't love them, but those were interesting compared to like, you know, I feel like the boss fights that we got in Tears of the Kingdom were like a lot more basic. But let's stop talking about this because we're gonna have a whole episode about this.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah.
I wanna hear what it's like going
into Diablo
4 and doing more of that.
So let's see. So I'm familiar with the process of Path of Exile, as I mentioned to you in the past.
Yeah.
Which is every 3 or 4 months or so, they're like, here's a new league. It adds a new mechanic. You start fresh, you know, all your characters and such done. It's like, go through it. And, you know, here's a new mechanic. It might be good, it might not, but we've also adjusted a bunch of other different things, and you can try a new build, you can style on it, and then the end game is still the end game the Path of Exile has had since its big overhaul, which is constantly iterated on and friggin' great. Like, everything... I like Diablo 4 a lot, but nothing it can provide does it for me like the maps do in Path of Exile. So,
yeah.
And... it's not that dissimilar, I suppose, from like Nightmare Dungeons or whatever. It's just hard to explain exactly what it does. But yeah, irregardless, that's basically how they've approached the first season here. It's just, here it is again, start from fresh, or relatively fresh. You keep, you know, mapping little statue progress because fuck doing that again. Entertaining enough the first time and then filling in the gaps afterwards with a guide is like, okay, whatever. I don't want to have to do this again. And so they're like, yep, you don't have to do this again. So that's good. But then start a new character.
If I'm going to play more, I need to do that because I think I got like 4 that I found during my playthrough of the game or whatever.
Yeah, I went looking for a few of them on my own, but like at least half of them I needed, or I used a guide for. I probably could have found some of them on my own. But yeah, so it's like, here you go, start a new character. Here is, you know, the patch notes. We've done balance adjustments and such, which I'll circle back to. And then here's a new mechanic. Certain enemies will have, like, they'll be malignant and they'll leave a little malignant heart afterwards. If you click on it, they'll respawn again and be slightly tougher. But if you beat them, you get a caged heart, which is basically an item that goes in a specific kind of socket, which will appear on jewelry throughout. And some of these have, there's some generic effects and some class-specific effects, and some of them are just stupid good. Stupid good. I think the Necromancer's got the best of the bunch, but yeah.
My Big Ole
So
Bone Boys.
let me tell you about this. Okay, so the best thing that they have here is one of them is your corpse abilities will just automatically happen on corpses nearby for 30% of the damage.
Oh, dang.
Just automatically as you run past them. So there are videos of people just, basically just AFKing, just sitting down and just like, yep, enemies run at, a corpse nearby explodes. There is a new corpse. It explodes. You just sit there and just let the explosions constantly go on.
Nice.
But I was doing it, and this doesn't trigger your cooldowns either, which means
Ooh.
I've got like 3 corpse tendrils out at once just by running around, and everyone's just getting yanked and stunned and done all that because, of course, you're on corpse tendrils, right? And then, yeah, and it's like, oh, Skelly died, new one's up instantly. It's just like, you just steamroll through that stuff as Necro. So that's really cool. And
Okay,
I've been making...
You might be getting me back.
It's good fun. But by contrast, I don't think anything that the other classes got was nearly as significant, because I dabbled in the Necromancer, but I stuck with Barbarian for the season because, I don't know, I felt like, hitting things really hard with a hammer. So nothing I've gotten from the Barbarian has been nearly as impactful or cool as that. So it's a bit of a grab bag on how the individual effects are. But the point is, sometimes there'll be tougher enemies that they'll have a certain drop reward, which replaces some sockets on your rings or whatever, and you get these, and they'll add things like armor and such, in addition to the extra effect they have. And it's like, yep, that's cool. And then otherwise, it's just game again. But you also have a battle pass to progress through and a whole bunch of little mini objectives and such to speed that along, like the season's journey, and which will give you various mini achievements and such as you go, which kind of guides your progression. It's like, hit a certain level, do this many dungeons, or run, craft this many potions or whatever. Just have you engage with the systems and generally be rewarded, and in turn help fill up the battle pass thing.
One thing I think is really nice is that from what I have heard, the free battle pass has all the gameplay stuff, whereas the paid ones are purely cosmetic, which I think is nice.
Yeah, that is true, but it's also like, I don't think the battle pass is all that good. So I haven't bought the premium one, but I compare it to certain games, which, they'll give you, when there'll be a battle pass, there'll be a free track and a premium track, as opposed to just one. And here they have just one.
Okay.
And what that means is that you'll go like 10 levels, but only 3 of them will be designated as, this is for free players as well. So you'll only get a couple of things. Whereas, other games will go, yeah, you might get some of the cooler things in the premium one, and you might get it early, but the free track will also be running something. So every rank, you'll still get something. So a lot of the time it's like, yeah,
where it's like you can rank up, but you don't necessarily get something, or maybe they'll have like a consumable or something.
Yeah, or it's something really minor. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like it need only be like, for example, Deep Rock Galactic is another game I play, and that doesn't have a premium battle pass. Everyone's on the same one. But even the stuff which isn't like a big cosmetic or unlock or whatever, you still just get flat resources, which are used for upgrades and such. It's like, cool, that's something, right? And it's even worse in the Diablo situation, because some of the things are also level gated. So the things you mentioned, all the gameplay stuff is basically for the season. You'll get like, I want to say they're called Smoldering Ashes or something like that, at certain tiers. And you get those, and then you can plug them into a bunch of bonuses, which will affect you for the rest of the season. So this will be like better item drops, more experience from monster kills, things like that. The problem is that all of those are level gated. So the first one appears. Yeah, the first one appears at like rank 8 or something of the pass. And just playing a character through that, you'll hit that long before that. But the problem is the ashes, you cannot use them until a character is level 40. So if you hit that at level 25, it's like tough. You can't redeem it yet. And I'm at the point where I've got 3 queued up, ready to go when I get a couple more levels, but I'm not there yet because I'm like level 52 currently. And it's like I need 153, 58, so on, before I can even get the benefits. So it's like,
You did
these
the
might
work,
be
but you
helpful.
can't- Yeah.
Yeah, these might be helpful for when I make a second character, maybe, but I still have to take this one all the way through in order to actually access them. It's like, you better hope I like the season enough to play a second character through it. Because what'll typically happen in a Path of Exile league is, it's like, I'll play one as a league starter, run through, make a bunch of money, simple build, and then it's like, okay, I've got the currency I need to facilitate a more experimental, more expensive build. And then I might go through a second time, or I might not. I might just go, no, I'm good. That was fine.
Yeah.
I'll be back in 3 months. See you. And so you want to hope that, you at least attract the person who does, is going to do a second time with this, because otherwise, the battle passing is not great in that regard. And I also don't think the cosmetics are that good as well. Like the paid ones are all right, but the free ones are just like, There's very little in the actual. This is practically nothing in the battle pass that I would actually want. Even if I pay, like, especially for not paying money, even if I paid money, it's like, oh, those are cool, but So that's a problem.
You could buy a game instead.
I could. Absolutely, I could buy a game.
It's just so ridiculous.
And the problem is that there's a few little changes in how it looks and portrays that it's like, it sort of feels like they're trying to weasel you into it a little bit more. So there's just little things like the season journey page that you have to check constantly to see your progress or whatever. If you click on the wrong button in there, it's got the activate premium pass, and that's glowing all the time, and that has a little shimmer all the time, so it stands out. So it's like, it's just little designs like they want you to buy the premium pass. Okay, fine. But then there's things like, why would I buy a cosmetic for a character that I'm seeing from a top-down perspective all the way back here?
Yeah.
So what have they done? They've replaced like 90% of the loading screens with your character just standing there, a close-up going,
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, I know exactly what this is for. And it's not good. So
that's pretty gross.
So you combine this with things like how they had like the, when they were talking about the Battle Pass, even before the game came out, they had like a big reveal thing coming on, and like 80% of the developer discussion was about what's going to be in the Battle Pass for Season 1. And that doesn't put a good taste in people's mouth. And you combine it with that and all these little things that just feel like the executives just constantly nudging in and going, hey, we want more money. Give us. Come on.
Yeah.
Devs, make it so they want to give us more money. Come on.
Yeah.
Give us more. And it seeps in. It seeps in and it sours the experience that little bit. Because the core fundamental of Diablo 4 is as it was when I talked about it previously. I love it. I do. It's fun. It's satisfying. I can shake the builds up enough. There's enough different things or whatever to go on. And like at worst case scenario, I pop open a movie or whatever in the other monitor and just watch that while I'm chipping away at stuff. But it's still entertaining. It really is. It's a good game. The fundamentals and such are there. The story was great.
I played it enough to beat it. Like it was fun,
I don't blame people for not coming back to it. I don't blame people for necessarily finding the season a bit because the mechanic is fine. The story that they attach to it is simple, short. It's like an extended side quest thing. It's fine. It's all good. And it gives you a reason to play a game that, I already enjoy and enjoy playing. So I have no problem doing that in my downtime when it's like, I just want to fuck around for a bit. I'm just going to play some Diablo. Sure, I'll do that. But just those little things start to seep in after a while.
They add up, yeah.
And as to the patch notes, a lot of people are just like, wow, those patch notes, man, I'm out. That was enough. And I'm like, I don't understand where that mentality comes from. And I feel like a lot of that is just, it's the typical mentality of, oh God, they nerfed my thing. Rah, 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 this is the worst thing you have ever done. And you sit back and everyone else is sitting back and watching. It's like, yeah, most things got buffed. Everything's more balanced. The game's improved. And that's kind of where we're at. It's like the things that got nerfed needed nerfs. The things that didn't got buffed. Their messaging might not have been great. And that's probably where a lot of it is like, if they had just explained the thought process and like patch notes and such like that, people were probably a little bit better with it. But as it stands, there's just enough bad sentiment and bad blood that the narrative has really been poisoned, and everyone's like, wow, this is like the worst patch ever. And it's like, no, it really isn't. It's not that bad at all.
Yeah.
More things got buffed than otherwise, you know? And if you got nerfed, you probably needed it. Sorry. So yeah, I think it's just a lot of the narrative around it in terms of like, nobody likes Activision Blizzard. Rightly so. You shouldn't. Remember, everything we say good about it and the devs and everything comes with all the caveats of their executive class is the goddamn worst. The lawsuits are still ongoing. All that, the rest, whatever development and progress has been made on there is still continually being hampered, and it will only ever happen again until full restructuring happens, you know, and Kotick is shot out into space, you know? Like, that's just inevitable. And I really think that's coloring a lot of the perception around Diablo 4 when it's otherwise really good, but no one wants to like it. No one wants to give Activision Blizzard any credit. And the little things end up compounding, and frankly, rightly so. So yeah, it's hard to say, because again, I'm enjoying my time with it. I am enjoying replaying it. And I liked the game originally, but it's just the aura around it is not great.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can put it. The aura is not great, and I don't know how it's gonna shape up in the future. So yeah, that's my seasonal journey so far.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, there's a part of me that wants to go back and do the season journey, but at the same time, I'm just like, man, I still got to beat Aliens Dark Descent. I still got to beat Final Fantasy 16.
There's other games to play. There's other things to do.
Yeah,
It's something I do in my downtime when it's just like, I can't be bothered to do that much. I'm just going to beat some stuff up in Diablo. I'm just going to, get really mad and slam things for thousands of damage. Great.
Yeah.
Barbarian for life, yo.
That is pretty cool. And one great thing about being Barbarian for life is that that class is gonna be in all the games.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not.
Well, I mean, I was a rogue the first time through, so I admittedly still miss that play style because I really enjoyed that. But like, it's hard to deny the pleasure of just going Onga, you know.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like, yeah, give me pets. Like even when Diablo 3 came out, I was like, well, they don't have Necromancer. I've been a Necromancer since Diablo 2, but I guess I'll do Witch Doctor. And then I like really loved that one. And then they added Necromancer, and I'm like, we're back, baby.
Yeah.
So
just fill the screen with as much shit as possible. Carry on.
Yep. I like having those big old.
If my CPU isn't screaming in pain, I'm not getting enough minions.
Yeah, exactly. Give me all the minions. Hold on, wait. I'm afraid you heard. Give me a lot of minions. That's not what I said.
No.
Give me all the minions you have. If I can have 100 skeletons on the screen, I'm having a blast. Man, back in the Diablo 2 days, you could damn near do that, which is awesome.
Yeah, especially I feel like I think they actually nerfed that in later patches as well, because it used to be like every rank of raised skeleton gave you a new skeleton immediately, as opposed to like a few. So I remember in the early days I was just like, I am surrounded in skeletons, and then going back to it, or when it got patched or whatever, it's like I am surrounded by a few skeletons.
You have like a wall of skeletons; they just can't even get to you because there's
it was beautiful.
Your good old bone boys were keeping everybody at bay. A true delight.
Yeah, it's still hilarious and fascinating just how much necromancer feel and play style in video games got codified in Diablo 2. Just really everything about the minion play style from then has come from that, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's freaking great. Anyways.
It's great.
What else did you want to talk about? Did you have anything else for this week? I don't really, actually. So
how about we talk about how you beat the shit out of me repeatedly, and I was grinning the whole time while doing so.
All right, yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's talk Rashid, shall we?
Is that going to be our closer for this week?
I think that should be our closer. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So finally, as we've been threatening for the last couple of weeks, I've been playing more Street Fighter 6, and I did go up against Brian and a couple of others, but mostly Brian. And the big deal in Street Fighter 6 right now is that Rashid dropped yesterday. and the first Fighter Pass character, the returning character from Street Fighter V. And I only played a little bit of Street Fighter V, and mostly in the early days of it. And when it wasn't a great game. And I remember going, not really feeling this, but I do like this Rashid guy. He's cool. And I remember, of all the characters that they introduced and that stuck out, it's like, I feel like I could see Rashid going forward. And so when he was shown off and announced, like, yep, he will be like first DLC. I'm like, good. I'm glad he's getting another chance in an actually good game.
Yeah.
And yeah. Say what you will about Street Fighter V in the long run, it got better. Yeah. No. I'm glad he got a chance in a game that's good from the start. So here he is, and he's out, and I'm just like, yeah, I enjoyed playing him. I was enjoying my Kimberly, but I will go give him a go. And it was love at first sight. I am Rashid main. I'm Rashid main. That's it. I just, everything about it is like, this is great. I love the look, the personality, the vibe, the moveset, and just everything about it. And the skill ceiling is so far beyond where I'm at because, yeah, I did a bunch of like labbing and training and such, like, okay, getting a few basics down. And then I mentioned that, and Brian's like, yo, I'll be on soon. I'm like, sweet, let's do that. And then we met up like basically before I went to bed, and it's like, we'll play like for an hour or so.
Yeah, I think we played 27
like
matches, yeah.
Yeah, something like that, nearly 30 matches. I lost every single one, and I didn't care. I was having a ball.
That's a great sign.
That's a great sign. And like, I expect this. Brian's a better player than me. I'm still, like an iron scrub and working my way up, but I'm getting better. You'd want to hope so. I've got like 150 matches now. You'd want to be picking something up, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was having a ball, and there were moments where I just installed the fear in you. There was just little moments where I'm like, okay, so does this? Oh, okay, I've got air combos. I've got this thing going.
Yeah.
And then I just do like this system of combo and mix up, and you're sitting there going, oh God, he's got the tech. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically,
so
like just
install the fear on you, and then I can't do it again because I haven't figured it out properly. But
yeah. But it's great, being somebody who like I like to get ready for Street Fighter 6 because everybody was getting so excited about it. I bought I had heard that Luke was good in Street Fighter 5, so I bought him and I played him. And previously I had played when I think I got a copy of Street Fighter 5 on Steam when like the arcade edition went on like super discount. So it was like 10, 15, something like that. Like it was really, really cheap. And so I picked it up and I played my buddy Ronnie, and he played Zangief. And I was like, he destroyed me. I think I played Ken. And he just,
as any good Zangief will, yes,
absolutely demolished me. And so when I came back to the game, like before Street Fighter 6, I was like, I don't want to play Ken because I had a really bad experience, but I've heard that Luke is cool and he's going to be in the next game. So I'm going to buy, so I bought Luke and I played him, and I was like, oh, this guy's fun. And then watching the stuff up through like Street Fighter 6's reveal, and watching like the tournament at PAX East, and stuff like that, I was like, oh, and watching like one of my favorite content creators, Sajam, who's a commentator and also very, very, very high level, like master rank player in the game. He's great. Does excellent content. If you're interested in fighting games, you should probably know who Sajam is, but if not, check him out. Yeah. And one of the things that I think is great about him is he is an excellent teacher. Like
completely.
He knows the game at a high level. He can play it at a high level, and he can break down why things are good, which is like the perfect like fusion of stuff. So he's been somebody that I've been following for a long time, and thankfully he plays Luke, and I watched him play, and I saw him do medium perfect knuckle, which is a special move that Luke has in this game that he punches people so hard that they fly across the screen, bounce off of the wall, and come back, and you can do like a juggle combo. And I saw that, and I was like, that's what I want to do. That is what I want to do. I want to do that. And so I've played Luke. There was a time when I found Luke too challenging, so I switched to Ryu, who could also do that with his high blade kick. He could wall bounce people, but I find Ryu to be super boring and bland as a character. So I switched back to Luke, and I've been so happy. So I've been playing Luke Luke is my main. He's the only character I'm playing. I dabbled in Jury for a while, but she's not giving me the same satisfaction that I get playing Luke. So I'm just like playing Luke all the time. And to go up against, like, to have, I'm Iron 5 right now just because I've been reviewing all these games. I don't have that much time for ranked. I got so many friends that are like in platinum, in diamond. I've got, some friends that I think are approaching master level or whatever. But I'm still like little Iron 5 Luke,
But most of them would say, dude, your rank is so much lower than you should be. They know.
True. Timo said that.
Like, Timo, I think Bergen said it as well. Everybody's like, yeah, dude, you're better than your rank looks on. And like, straight up, like, like, you beat me in 30 games basically back to back, and that was just then.
Yeah.
That's to say nothing of the Kimberly games we played earlier in the week.
Yeah.
So,
but
I haven't beaten you yet. The only time I almost did, my fucking controller died. That was unbelievable.
I forgot about that.
No joke. Literally, I got you down to like very nearly nothing, and then literally my controller cut out, and I was like, why is nothing working? And then lost.
Of course.
It's like
we take
it had
those.
to be safe.
So
we take those.
So
we take those.
I did pummel him after that. I think I did.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I accept it. I'm just finding it hilarious.
Tournament rules,
baby. But like, yeah. I'm just looking at it and just going, of course, it's the one game that I might win where my controller cuts out. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
But hey, you'll get there with Rashid. But yeah, like I'm sitting over here, like I'm still trying to learn how to play Luke, and like I get these flashes where I'm just like, oh no. Like as soon as Chris like actually like gets a handle on what he just did, it's gonna be really hard for me to fight this guy, But yeah, until then, I'm gonna enjoy all those wins because I'm gonna get them while I can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said from the very start, it's like people who are actually good at this game will take Rashid and just do amazing things.
I've seen
like
ridiculous stuff already on Twitter. Or I guess X on X.
It's Twitter.
Throw up.
Yeah. But yeah, we've seen some stupid shit already, and just like less than 24 hours with him, and people are already just doing dumb shit. And I wasn't reliably doing dumb shit, but when I did some dumb shit, you could just hear and see the moment where Brian's like,
oh no. This isn't gonna go well for me. Yeah, people have done like 100 to 0. Like when you do the tornado super, like if you make them block it, you can actually like continue, attacking or like just keep walking forward or something. And it can take their drive gauge all the way down till they hit burnout. And then like stuff like it's pretty gross. So if you're looking around on Twitter for like the tech, like there is some really disgusting Rashid stuff. And I know that he's got mix-ups. Like he already has 50-50.
Oh, he's mix-up king. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So
like there's so many things that just link into other things and can be linked into multiple things and different stupid good. So much potential here.
Yeah.
He might be too strong. I don't know that for sure, but he might be.
And the fascinating thing is that he is still tournament legal for Evo, even though it is fewer than 2 weeks before he comes out. I think it's like literally just 10 days, which means Rashid players, tournament players could keep that tech to themselves and just show up and just clown on everybody. I'm really interested to watch Street Fighter 6 at Evo.
Mm-hmm. It could be like that one year where, a Gen player just showed up in Street Fighter 4 and cleaned up when no one knew how the fuck to deal with Gen.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I imagine it's going to be something like that.
Could be wild. But yeah, I mean, Street Fighter 6 just continues to pay dividends. Since Will isn't here, I'll go ahead and say it. I think I might actually like Street Fighter more than Guilty Gear Strive, which is crazy.
Blasphemy.
Which is crazy. Also,
I'm just going to flat out say it openly. Yeah, I think I enjoy it more. But it's not that I don't love Guilty Gear, but I do.
And I straight up play like the most complicated character in fighting game history with Asuka. Like I literally, like I'm over here, like, okay, throw the spell. Okay, give me a page back in my spell book. Okay, give me some mana back. Okay. Oh my god, I don't have any defensive mechanics whatsoever. you know.
Asuka, aka we heard you like Invoker from Dota and
Yeah.
want to do that in a fighting game. My God.
I was playing some earlier, and I'm like, dude, I'm literally playing StarCraft 2 right now. Like,
Yeah, no, I believe it.
it's
The amount of shit you would have to be juggling
it's
for that is just
it's ridiculously complicated. Yeah, it's wild. Well, did you have any final Street Fighter 6 thoughts, or is it just Rashid good, Street Fighter 6 good?
I mean, it's basically that, but I do like to at least talk about the feeling. There's very few times, like, I've always enjoyed fighting games, but usually just watching it because, like, I don't have the patience for them. I don't have the time to stick and, to deal with the frustration of constant losing and getting it right and figuring out why my inputs are bad and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only games I've ever really clicked with in terms of fighting game space was Soul Calibur. Like, I think I do better in 3D fighters than 2D. I'm okay at Tekken as well. But Soul Calibur was my main thing, and that was always, at least part of it was the fact that I found a main in that early on, both in a game and the series. Like, I figured out that I like Xianghua from game 2, Soul Calibur 2. And then I would play Xianghua or the equivalent of in every single game following. And so I just had that main. It's like, I enjoy this playstyle.
Yeah.
I click with this. This is fun, even when I'm losing, when I'm learning. That is a big deal. I didn't have that in any other fighting game, even, like, I like Strive, but no character ever really felt like I'd clicked with them. Like, they were my main. I liked Kimberly going into Street Fighter 6. I'm like, yep, this is good. This is fun. This is a good play style for me. I enjoy it. But the moment I picked up Rashid, I'm like, this is it. This is clicked. Yeah. This is my main. I'm sticking with this throughout. Let's fucking go. And
so who do you play?
It is Strive? So good. I played Soul.
Interesting. I think you should try Chip.
He was one that I always thought about just because, like, very fast mix-ups, rush downs kind of thing.
He's similar to Kimberly. Like, that's why I mentioned that. And like Rashid, like, if you want to mix people up and be like crazy and just all over the place, like, Chip is your dude.
Yeah, so. And I do know a guy who was a very good chip player. I could always pick his brain about it. But the problem is I went in, like, when I played Exard, I played Jam, right? Like, I like Jam in I like that in X2 and Accent Core as well.
She's probably going to get added in the next season of Strive.
Hopefully. But so it's always just that feeling of, none of these characters quite do it like she did for me there.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, and even then she was never quite at the same level as Xianghua and definitely not the same as Rashid. So I'm just like, it's good to have that feeling, because that feeling of this play style, this character, everything about it, I vibe with it, I'm into it, I want to play more of it. Yeah. And that is so crucial, I feel, in getting over the hump of, fighting games are hard. The skill ceiling is through the roof.
Yeah.
The level of execution and practice and things that need to be done, especially when you have, like, just bad habits like I do, because, like, I have dirty inputs. I mash a lot just because I play MMOs, I play WoW. And in that case, it's like, I know the next ability coming up, I'm going to press that button until it goes off.
Yeah.
This is like
buffering works totally different in fighting games.
And so I watch myself in training and with the inputs. It's like, I'll do like a 4-hit combo and press 6 buttons for it. Yeah, because I'm just instinctively at the end, I'm pressing the kick button, like the heavy kick, to finish it off like 3 times.
Yeah.
I do it without thinking. It's like, that's got to change. I got to clean my inputs up. So that's what I'm constantly working on. But just having a character that you like enough to actually sit down and do the work and do that I'm just sitting there. It's like, I'm getting pummeled to death by this Luke player over here who's much better than me. And I'm grinning like an idiot the whole time.
Yeah.
And I'm putting the fear in him every so often when there are little flashes of, there's tech here. There's tech here, and I will get there.
There's something.
It's like,
we've stumbled across something. We're gonna come back and dig more here later. Let's plant a flag down.
Plant a flag. We'll bring the shovels back.
Yeah,
all right.
exactly. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I was telling. I think it was Ronnie. I might have told you this as well, but like, having like that feeling is key, and it is crazy, because I think the character that's gotten the closest to that for me has probably been either Sin or Asuka in Guilty Gear, but still nobody is quite there where like Luke in Street Fighter 6 is like, dude, I love this character. This guy is so cool. He's so fun. Like when I land like a perfect light knuckle, knock you up into the air into the level 2 where he just does da 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 da, boom. Like it's just such a cool feeling, you know, and
you always seem so satisfied. It's like, yes, got it. So you land it. It's like, yeah.
It's great.
And even I'm just like, damn, that's cool. You know,
Yeah.
I'm on the receiving end of like, wow, you know, I'm not going to be able to walk straight for a week after that kind of pummeling. Don't care. Great fun.
Yeah. But like, yeah, it is, you know, and I've got that in Dragon Ball Fighters, but yeah, not having somebody who really does that for me in Guilty Gear has been like kind of a thing that got in my way. And now it's like having Luke in Street Fighter 6, it's like I'm always looking to like hop into ranked mode when I have a chance. Like I don't have as many chances as I normally do, but like the netcode is really great. Like I wonder if this will be different when DBFZ's rollback comes out, and then I'll be able to actually do that in, you know, the tag game that I like. But right now it's just like, I think SF6 is probably my favorite one-on-one fighting game, and DBFZ is my favorite tag, and that's just kind of where it is. But it's awesome to have that, and having a character that really speaks to you and you really vibe with on like a deep and multifaceted level is like that's everything. That's everything for fighting games. So.
Yeah, it really is. You find your main, you build off from there, and it's like that will do so much more than just about any other thing you can possibly do. It's just like find the character that vibes with you.
Yeah,
doesn't matter if they're good, doesn't matter if the tier list says they're bad. Find the character that vibes with you.
Yeah,
you will want to play them more than anything else, and stick with it. You know, like once you have, you know, if you're getting into fighting games, that's a good thing to do. Once you have the fundamentals down and you know the systems as such, then you can branch out a little bit, try some other characters, you know, follow the tier list if you must. Pick a top tier, whatever. But
Sin is one of the worst characters. He's bottom 2 in Guilty Gear Strive. Like he is one of the worst characters in the game, but he's still
you
one
have
of my
fun
favorites,
with him,
you know. And you know, and honestly, Asuka R. Kreutz played at the level I am capable of playing him is probably the worst character in the game, because he has to juggle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. Like you gotta juggle your mana, you gotta juggle your spell book, you gotta juggle all 4 of your spell slots. Like, and then you have to do the regular stuff, which is watch your health, watch your burst, watch your tension. So it's like it's just absolutely ridiculous. But
he doesn't have a skill ceiling. He's got a skill stratosphere.
Yeah. He has the highest skill ceiling of like any character that's ever existed, because he's got all these things that can happen. But if the stars don't align, it's really rough. And he has no invincible reversals whatsoever. Even his super isn't invincible. It's rough times. But when he's working, he's really working. So like I might drop Sin and just play him, you know. But like it's. Yeah. Anyways, let's get out of here and let the people go about their business.
That's fair enough.
But anyways, thank you all for joining us for episode 282 of the Platformers. That is a palindrome. Join us live as we record each episode at twitch.tv/ribnax, RIBNAX. And you can watch them later on my YouTube channel, which is linked there, and also on my social media. If you have thoughts or topic ideas that you want to share, deep dives that you want us to get into, let us know. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Backlogged at Ribnax, RIBNAX. And you can find me on Blue Sky at Brian Barnett, BrianBarnett. And if you want to read the stuff that I've been doing, the stuff that I've been publishing, you can check out IGN.com, where I have written interview pieces with the developers of American Hero, Enclave HD, and I've got some other ones that are going up. There's also a bunch of like sweepstakes and complimentary game keys if you subscribe to IGN Plus. There's a bunch of like, you know, you can enter to win like a Nintendo Switch and an Xbox Series X themed on Porsche on IGN Rewards, which is free to anybody who has an IGN account. So go in there, get your cool rewards, and read some of the stuff that I've written about. I've written little micro previews of all of these games.
He's a good writer, guys, I promise.
Thank you. And I've got some more previews that I'm working on, so look out for that. I wrote a preview for Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew, which is a game that is coming out not too long from now, so you can go check that out. Humanity is out. It was also on PS Plus. You can read my preview of that on IGN. I've got Baldur's Gate 3 stuff coming out on GameSpot. So just, keep it locked to those sites and my social media, and you'll be able to find all that stuff. Chris, where can everybody find you?
I'm a lot less active than you are still, but my website is versusthebacklog.com, VS the backlog, one word, where you can find all sorts of rants and various things I do about video games, deep dives, analyses, such like that. It's woefully underdeveloped. I still need to continue writing for it. I haven't done much this year because I've just been in flux trying to figure it out, and a lot of what I talk about gets talked about here, but I'm working on it. Hopefully I'll have something to show for it soon. But you can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Delphia. That's EI, not IE. And I've been around the internet for a few years. You can find some of my past work on various places like GameSkinny, DualShockers, and at least one piece on IGN. And other than that, you'll see me around. If you see Delphia, send a shout out. It's probably me, and I'll say hi. Catch you around.
Good stuff. Good stuff. If you like the show, please review it on your podcast platform of choice and tell somebody about it. From everybody here at the Platformers, we hope you have a wonderful week and stay safe out there, because until next time, we are out.
Peace.